Let's jump right into this explainer. I want you to close your eyes for a second and just picture the ancient wilderness. For our ancestors, it was absolutely packed with hidden lethal dangers. You hear a rustle in the grass, maybe a quick movement beneath a rock, a sudden flash of scales, and then fangs. Literally in the blink of an eye, an ordinary day of foraging could turn into a desperate fight for survival.
It's pretty terrifying to think about, right? Which brings us to the core mystery of this whole thing. How did ancient humans actually survive? Think about it. Today, a serious bite means a quick trip to the hospital, heart monitors, and most importantly, life-saving antivenom. But rewind a few thousand years? Yeah. No hospitals, zero ambulances, absolutely no modern medicine whatsoever. So without any of that stuff, what was their most powerful survival tool? Well, it was simply knowledge.
Because, honestly, their absolute best defense against a venomous strike wasn't some kind of magical cure. It was straight-up avoidance. Ancient people spent their entire lives totally immersed in nature in a way that, frankly, we can barely even comprehend today. Through a lifetime of paying incredibly close attention, they learned all the crucial details. They knew exactly which snakes were dangerous, where they liked to hang out, what time of day they were active, and how they behaved.
You can kind of think of it as a massive, generational database of survival strategies. Hunters mapped out specific habitats to avoid. Gatherers figured out exactly which plants attracted these slithering predators. And, maybe most importantly, parents drilled it into their kids to never, ever stick their hands into dark holes without checking first. These weren't just fun nature facts. These were literal life and death lessons that were meticulously passed down.
But nobody's perfect, especially out in the wild. Eventually, avoidance fails. Someone is gonna get bitten. Just put yourself in that terrifying reality for a second. Imagine a hunter just walking through the tall grass. He takes one step forward, and out of nowhere, a snake strikes.
So what happens next? Well, the symptoms hit hard and fast. The bite causes immediate, searing pain. Rapid swelling blows up around the puncture wounds. Depending on the species, the venom is already doing its thing, destroying tissue, messing with blood clotting, or literally attacking the nervous system. But here's the really crazy part. Ancient humans had absolutely no clue what venom actually was. To them, some invisible force had just invaded the body, and the victim was getting sick really fast. So out of sheer desperation, they started experimenting.
And that desperation led to some pretty incredible experimentation. All across the globe, different cultures whipped up traditional remedies using whatever natural materials they had lying around. We're talking plants, roots, minerals, you name it. Some of this stuff was brewed into drinks, while other ingredients were mashed into pastes and slapped directly onto the wound. Now, did they work? Well, some of these mixtures might have actually soothed the pain or reduced the swelling, but others, they probably had absolutely zero effect on the venom itself. Still, they kept trying. If someone survived, they remembered that treatment forever. If it failed, they scrapped it.
This super slow trial and error accumulation of knowledge was just a massive undertaking. I mean, one generation would figure out one tiny piece of the puzzle, and the next would add a little bit more. But as you can probably guess, this approach also led to a lot of treatments that we now know were completely useless. Actually, worse than useless sometimes. But you have to remember, without any biological understanding of what venom actually is, these methods seemed perfectly logical to them. They were just doing whatever they could to pull the sickness out. And unfortunately, that logic led to some truly dangerous practices. Cutting the bite open, sucking the venom out of the wound, burning the area, tightly binding the limb. Now, why on earth would they do this? Well, it makes total sense if you picture the venom as a puddle of poison you just need to trap and drain. But today we know the grim reality. Cutting causes severe tissue damage. Sucking it out doesn't reliably remove the venom at all. And a super tight tourniquet? That can cause permanent, serious injury. Sometimes the cure ended up being worse than the bite itself.
But let me be absolutely clear about this. Ancient healers were not stupid, not even a little bit. They just lacked the modern scientific tools that we completely take for granted today. They were staring down a terrifying, often fatal problem and trying to solve it using, literally, only the things they could find in the woods around them.
And you know what? Through all of that intense trial and error, they did actually hit the nail on the head with one incredibly effective strategy. In fact, it is still the single most important physical thing you can do even today. Keep the victim calm. They noticed time and time again that panicking just made everything so much worse. And right alongside staying calm, they figured out they had to reduce movement. Ancient people realized that sprinting back to the village or thrashing around in pain actually pumped the blood faster, which just spread the venom through the body way quicker. So getting the victims somewhere safe and keeping them perfectly still bought them some seriously crucial time. Now, it definitely didn't guarantee survival every time, for sure, but they became remarkably good at minimizing the risk.
So let's fast forward a bit through history. As time went on, we start to see humanity's entire approach begin to evolve. We finally start transitioning from those desperate survival tactics and folklore into the dawn of real scientific understanding. The entire way we looked at snakes and those deadly bites was about to fundamentally change forever. It sparked this massive paradigm shift. Think about it. For thousands of years, the only question anyone asked was, what plant can cure this bite? It was 100% focused on treating the symptoms. But then, scientists started asking a totally different question. What exactly is this venom doing inside the body? Instead of just looking for a quick band-aid, they started hunting for the actual mechanism.
And what modern research revealed was pretty terrifying, honestly. Venom isn't just one simple substance. It's a wildly complex mixture of toxins. It is basically a highly evolved biological weapon. Some of these toxins are designed to completely shut down your nervous system. Others literally liquefy your tissues, and some completely mess with your blood's ability to clot. But as scary as that is, once we finally understood that crazy chemical cocktail, the door was officially open for a real cure.
Which brings us to arguably the greatest breakthrough in the history of this topic: antivenom. This was a total game changer. Scientists figured out how to produce specific antibodies, a targeted medical treatment that is specifically designed to actively recognize and neutralize those exact venom toxins. For the very first time in human history, we had a weapon that could actually fight the venom on a molecular level.
But here's the thing you have to remember. Antivenom didn't just magically appear out of thin air. Thousands of years ago, the very foundation of this science was laid by generational observation, just knowing which snakes were the dangerous ones. Centuries later, that evolved into meticulously documenting snake behavior and recording exactly what happened to the victims. And all of that laid the essential groundwork for modern medicine. An ancient hunter might not have known what a neurotoxin was, but his ability to recognize a threat and pass that knowledge down absolutely saved lives and paved the way for the science we rely on today.
From teaching kids to avoid dark holes in the wilderness, all the way to engineering specific antibodies in a high-tech lab, humanity's journey to survive the strike is just an incredible testament to the power of shared knowledge. Which leaves us with one final, pretty exciting question to ponder. What terrifying natural mystery is human curiosity going to solve next? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, keep asking questions.